All right, so here we are, part two of the bird scaring jank proof of concept. This took a while to wire up, and it looks like an absolute mess, because it is. I'm sorry for the noise. I have a server power supply sitting in the back that has no resistor on it to control the fan, so it just runs at 100% full speed. So I want to show you what this does, and you can judge from there. So we have here a SainSmart 16-channel relay board and a M-Tools. It's actually a control board to control this relay board. I got one sitting here off to the side. So what this uses is an ESP32 chip. And you can flash basically anything that's ESP or, any software on it that is 32-bit based. So the one that I have on this board right now is running Tasmoda, the ESP32 version. In order to flash these, you have to flash at 5 volts, and you have to use ESP flasher or the Python script to flash these. Tasmatizer does not work to flash these devices, and if you look real close on these pins right here, you can see the last 2 pins have some funny writing on them in Chinese. What that means is actually you short these 2 pins and it puts it in flash mode, and you have RX, TX, ground, and 5 volts. Once you flash it, you boot it up, configure Tasmoda, connect it to your wireless, and then you can control this board. It just snaps right on there like that with a nice pin header, and you're done. You don't have to connect anything else. No power or anything like that. You can connect an external antenna if you like for better wireless reception, but it does have one on board. So what I have here hooked up to all these relays are diesel glow plugs. These devices come out of or they're meant for a diesel engine for cold starting, and you can see this is what they look like. Sorry, I got wires up to it. This is one of the ones I was using for testing. You have your ground on the body and your hot on the backside, so you need to separate them. This specific glow plug is an NGK1239, and it uses M12 1.25 nuts or thread pitch. So if you're looking for a nut to put on there, that's what it is, M12 1.25. So it's basically just fine thread. So we have all the grounds hooked up to our ground blocks on both sides, and our positives are hooked up to the nut on the back of these guys on both sides. You notice I have 2 X's on these relays here. So the thing about ESP chips is they may set pins high on start, and it happens to be these 2 pins, so when you start it up, these 2 flash on. I can't do that, I can't have that, so you'll notice nothing's hooked up to them. When you flash on like that, these guys draw a lot of amperage, so what happens is it ends up causing the power supply to shut down because it's a smart power supply. So I don't use these 2 relays. So instead of 16 relays, I have 14. Not the end of the world. So we have Tasmoda up here on the screen, and you can see that we can test this. I'm sorry my screen's dirty there. My dog feels like he needs to sit next to me and watch me and sneeze. So it gets all over my screen, but you can see there we have a bunch of buttons all the way up to 16. If we actuate one and we watch these glow plugs, we should end up having this one, I believe. Nope, this one. Start getting hot. So if we start actuating more relays, we can only do up to 7 without that power supply shutting off. which in my use case, completely fine, because I'm not going to need to fire more than 1 or 2 of these at a time. And you'll see they're all starting to get hot. Maybe it was 8. Yeah, why not? Looks like maybe I have a bad ground somewhere. Whatever. Yeah. So 8 controls the next one, next tank over here. So yeah, I can feel the heat coming off these. These hit 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, so they get nice and hot. Plenty hot enough to light off a firecracker or set a fuse alight. And these will all be threaded into pipe and used to set off firecrackers. So we'll turn all them off. And we'll watch them all go down. So they're getting a little dimmer there. And if we go back over 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And see that? I just overloaded it. So we turn all these back off. Try not to burn ourselves on the hot glow plugs. They don't look hot, but I promise you, those sons of bitches, they will absolutely burn the heck out of you. So, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the thing is, with glow plugs, as they start up, during start they draw more amperage, kind of like a motor does, and once they hit their operating temperature, the amperage draw goes down. So effectively, these last 2 here, see those guys are hot, and I can hit these last 2 on, and those will go on as well. They do take a little bit to come up. So these are self-limiting, they will not melt down. So I can keep them on. You know, like I said, they're crazy hot. Let's grab this thing and see if we can. This is a IR camera, or IR thermal cam. Super cheap, off eBay or whatever, you know, straight from China. HDI. So you can see there, looks like they're peaking around 844 degrees Fahrenheit. They say they're supposed to hit 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. I imagine if that's, you know, you keep them going. But you know, my power supply probably isn't providing enough power, but that's okay. I don't need them to hit 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just, that's not important to me. It also could be amperage drop from having so many of them on, which is fine too, because like I said, I'm not going to be firing all these at once. So they're still pretty hot on all of them, but that back one is still sitting at 843 degrees. .45. All right, so it's not amperage drop, it's just that's as hot as I get. So it is what it is. I'll turn that off. Close that cover. I think I just blew something up. Just heard something pop. No idea what it was. Last time I did this, this capacitor right here blew off. I suspect what was happening was the amperage draw from these glow plugs was feeding back through this, because I had this guy attached to the same power supply has all the rest of the stuff connected to these blocks. And blew the capacitor off, blew that MOSFET off there, and then the board died. So yeah, now I've got them segregated, different power supplies. So yeah, anyway, part 2 of my bird scaring device. Part 3 will be putting all these into a plate with pipe welded onto it, threading all that stuff in, and rewiring everything and going from there. A lot of this cable is actually way too thin for running all them at once, or even half of them at once. A lot of this cable gets overloaded, so I got some thicker cable, and I'll be upgrading to that. These guys are only supposed to draw between 2 and 5 amps, and my relays here are within spec at 10 amps. I don't know about the junction blocks, but you know, made by Songle, probably not actually 10 amps. So, but yeah, anyway, there it is. Moving right along. Still waiting on a couple parts, and once I get those parts, then I'll start on part 3. So, see ya.